We are live. Hello and welcome. I'm Hissy. This is Godless Scummer, and we
Hello.
are here today talking about Asterix and the Golden Sickle. So, if you were here last week, you already know how this is going to go. If you're not, welcome. You can always go check that one out later. Don't forget to like, comment, subscribe, all the YouTubey things to my channel, and then go click on the link in the description below. You'll find Scummer's channel. And I think that's all the admin done. So we'll just run through, see who's here. We've got Robert X, hiya. Woof, back to you too, quick. We know you're there. Hey Ring and Meow Jen. I don't know how to say that sound. Squee? Hi, Nerdy. And of course, Scummer's in there as well. And that's who I can see at the moment. If I've missed you out, I am sorry. So yeah, we are sitting here and we're going to talk Asterix and the Golden Sickle. And do you know what I did? I took pictures of things I wanted to show you and then didn't take a picture of the front page
Okay.
because I'm dim. But yes, Asterix and the Golden Sickle. There we go.
I just
Yeah. So let's
be this one here. I think
That one's more fun, I think. I
like
that one. Cool. So off we go.
Okie doke. So obviously, those of you who last week we went through the first book. This is the second book in the series. And I think I'll say my personal thesis. I think this book is where I think we first get a little bit of a better idea of the friendship between Asterix and Obelix in this particular book, and this was one of my particular favourites as a kid. So I don't know if we want to jump in right at the sort of start of the book, and obviously we know the set. Those who were here last week, we know the setting. It's Gaul, Northern Gaul, 50 BC, all of Rome occupied except for our one little village where our friends reside, who have their magic potion, which means they can basically beat the Romans up. And the Romans who are stationed anywhere near this village know better, and they others not so much. So I guess we start in this, and it's a very nice peaceful day at the village to begin with. So
yeah, nice enough day. And then of course the druid, I feel like the druid was the catalyst for the plot in the last one as well.
yeah.
So this is quite a good one. He's broken his sickle. Jen, behave yourself because I know you're in the comments. He's broken his sickle, but not that one. Right. So that's the basic plot. They've got to go buy a sickle from another town. I did enjoy, and I didn't take pictures of it, but I did enjoy the little interaction between the druid and Asterix about whether Asterix is going to go or not.
Yes, I like that. I did enjoy that. But even before that, see, although they obviously never quite go to the whole thing with actual swearing, it's definitely implied an awful lot. And when Getafix has broken his special golden sickle, which he actually needs this to make his potions, and also he's getting a little cranky because apparently there's a big druids convention coming up, and so he needs to get a new one. But Asterix sort of volunteers to go, but Getafix is like, no, please don't. It's too dangerous. Don't go ahead on my account. And Asterix is like, well, okay, fair enough then. He says, oh, wait. So he's like, yeah.
Yeah. So that's quite amusing. There was one just at the start of it, and you can see sort of the top of that here. I'm just going to share this screen because I've learned from last week. Well, I'm going to try to.
Yeah.
So will see. We'll see how this works.
We'll just be patient. Hissy's, this is her first time using StreamYard, so let's be patient with her, guys. So she's learning here.
Yeah. So any mistakes, Yep. So there we go.
Yeah.
So this is a nice little lesson at the start. It very much set the scene of sort of peaceful time in the village, and I did enjoy this teaching the kids maths.
Yes.
And that was how many parts is gold divided? So it's a fun joke, and I think we've all been that poor kid in maths who doesn't get the oranges and apples joke, which is kind of what it feels like. What I do like, if you have a look, I have to say I love the artwork on this.
Oh yeah. I mean, I think by this one as well, you see it's just in comparison to the first book, you can see it's just a little crisper, a little smoother. You're getting to see how the characters are going to be drawn now, I think.
Yeah. I do like the sort of checker pattern on the bard. That amused me a fair bit.
Yeah.
So that was just one that I picked up on straight away, which it very much felt a bit like, you know, Romans Go Home style type thing going on there.
Yes. Yes.
Let's have a look.
And you've got to bear in mind, this is written before, you know, like Monty Python and The Life of Brian. So,
yeah,
you know.
And then, of course, we have the whole establishment of he's got to go to a druid conference, so suddenly it's urgent.
Yeah.
So again, it's one of those things. It feels like a very modern story. I found it's, you know, I've got to go buy something because I need it now.
Yes.
You know, you sort of, this story wouldn't happen right now because he'd just Amazon Prime it, but
yeah.
Yeah.
We haven't. We unfortunately 50 BC. We haven't quite got to Amazon yet. So
no, we haven't quite got to Amazon yet. Nor have we got to getting streams cut off halfway through for no good reason.
Yeah.
So yes, Ring. We all know what you're talking about, and don't worry, we're getting there. So, and once again, we have the humor. I'm not going to say at the expense of, but kind of setting Obelisk up as the strong man.
Yes.
Which I quite liked. In my omnibus, it's page 63. Let's have a look.
Same as mine. Yeah.
Yeah, a little gift. Yeah.
Obelix is walking around with one of his menhirs that he carves and delivers to people, and that's his job. And he's just walking around on his back. This great big. You imagine the stones that he used to build Stonehenge. He's just walking around with one of these on his back, like, so what, you know?
Yeah, a little gift as a token of our friendship.
Yeah. So they're going. So they're going off to Leticia, I believe it's pronounced. I might be butchering that.
You're doing better than I have, because
which is modern, which will be Paris nowadays. But they're so they're going off there to buy a sickle from a man named Metallurgix, who happens to be a cousin of Obelix's. So
all these dolls and their cousins.
Yeah. They have a little bit of they got some coins to buy. They've got a few coins to buy some this sickle. So they get run into a few bandits who try to rob them on the way, which, as you can imagine, doesn't end up too good for the bandits.
Yeah, it's very much they kind of, you know, knocked out, stars above the head, all classics.
Yeah.
And then about
I do love
halfway through the journey.
They stop at an inn, but just before that, I do like this little panel that was like, when they've just gone for these group of bandits, like they're not even there, and Asterix, it says, "Hope we're not going to run into too many more of them. It cuts down our average speed." So I just
yeah. That one I didn't take a picture of, but I know which one you're talking about.
Yeah.
So what I've tried to do is space out. Some will talk about, some will take pictures, so there's a nice bit of variety.
Yeah.
Let's have a look.
So they stop. I think they come into this. They stop at an inn overnight with a Germanic landlord.
Yes.
An inn called the Contrite Barbarian, which I thought was quite humorous.
Yeah, the Contrite Barbarian. And what I do have, quite possibly, what I do have, seriously, every time, is this. Slippery flagstones.
Yeah.
Which amuses me.
Yeah.
At mile marker 12. And when we were talking about last week, we were talking about how you can tell when someone's Germanic in this story. It's that bottom font here. It's this bit.
This sort of Gothic font kind of thing that they do. That's sort of any Germanic.
Incredibly Germanic, yeah. And that's my other pictures, so you don't need to see those yet. So that's where they're at. And I know Obelix is a big lad, but can he get his mind off the ball for like 3 seconds, please?
No, he can't. He's generally he has quite an appetite, does Obelix.
Yeah. So a couple of things I wanted to point out that was in their journey the following day as well.
Yes.
Which it amuses me. And again, I'm going to share the screen. It makes me select the option to share the screen every time rather than just remembering it for some daft reason.
Yeah.
So that's why it's taking so long. Sorry, folks. So this is what we're looking at. And I quite like these because they're both very modern jokes.
Yeah.
So this, quite obviously, maybe not to some, is the aqueduct. Yes, that one. Mm-hmm. That's what the Romans did for us. And these Romans are ruining the landscape with these modern buildings. Very
fantastic.
Asterix is such a NIMBY. You know, he's it's a good job he didn't live long enough to see wind turbines.
Yes.
And then we've got this one underneath, which
the Sonidinum 24-hour race.
Yeah.
Yes.
Which is quite obviously a nice little nod to Le Mans.
Yeah, that is actually, I think, near to where modern day Le Mans is, but it's a 24-hour ox and cart race here.
Which, have fun with that. But those were two little jokes that I immediately picked up on and quite liked. And they called to me, and then again with the stop. Sorry about the screen thingy. Seriously, I'm trying. So listen, it's better than last week when I was just randomly holding the book up. We're getting there. Yeah. So I think what I like about this one, the first one relied a lot on a classical education. This one is way more accessible.
Yeah.
So if the first one was, if you like, for the professors, this is for, the those of us who didn't have a classical education, which is not a bad thing. So it's quite nice because it's very relatable. Yes, I'm sure my husband would agree with you, Nerda. So we're off to that one, and then the next picture I took was when they actually arrive.
Yes.
And let's see. Let's have a look at the metallurgists. Why is it done that? It's turned it. Anyone know how to turn a picture in Google Drive?
No, not really, not well. Do you want me to hold it up, or it's not great?
No,
but
it's fine. I've got it here.
You're looking at the bottom. You're looking at the bottom right of that one.
Cool.
I do, and I'm going to say some of the things here that, again, this is, I mean, I do think some of these jokes are probably French-centric as well, but if anyone's been to Paris or whatever, and they are clearly making there's a lot of references to like the traffic jokes there.
Yeah. Oh, yes. Okay, I'll tell you what you can do. Everyone turn your head to the side. Let's see how much control we've got over the audience. Okay. You can turn your head.
If I do that, yeah.
Metallurgic Sickles.
Yes.
Latest Lutetia fashions. And of course, we all know Paris is a fashion hub. So that's quite... I quite like that one. And there's a lot of other ones as well of like street signs and things. What's this one? Is that the same one? Yeah. And then this is their introduction to the city. Now, I apologize. My new phone, I haven't quite figured out how to stop the camera shake yet.
Yeah.
You must be from the seaside up north. Well, how can you tell? Oh, I could talk about this for a long time.
Yeah.
Big city folk thinking they can spot a hick a mile away. Yep.
Yeah.
And this, from your veneer, I've got a good eye for these little details. Yeah, it's only 4 foot tall and literally weighs a ton.
Yeah.
Little details.
He mentions that he's from near Jagovia, which is where I think we referenced this last week, which is a famous battle in sort of the Gallic Wars. It's the only one Julius Caesar is ever supposed to have lost, and when he lost the battle, the Vercingetorix.
And Vercingetorix is actually quite relevant to this story, which we'll get to. Again, not one I photographed because there were so many of them.
Yeah, but, I mean, if people didn't watch the stream on my channel last week, Hissy actually does talk a bit about who Vercingetorix was or whatever. So if you didn't see that, you want to watch that after this one. Hissy does talk a bit about Vercingetorix and the Gallic Wars. So
cool. Yeah. So we're with that one, and then what else? What have we got? There was a nice. They got typical. Typical. I don't want to say typical men because I'm actually on a stream with a man, but typical pair of them arrive in a city and the first thing they do is get into a bar fight.
Yeah, pretty down much. Yeah.
And this one amused me because this is nice and traditional humor, I think.
Yes.
For nice and punny, I think.
Well, they've gone there to they've bumped into some guy who's to catch people up with the story of this. They can't find metallurgics, and they've been told that he's retired and actually he's left the city. This other ghoul named Clover Garlics, which is great, another good little pun. Has taken him to this bar. He said, "Hey, we can sort you out of a sickle for a decent price." And of course, the guy's trying to rip him off here. He wants like 3,000 gold coins for something that should cost like 100. I was actually going to say there was a little pun earlier that I kind of loved when Asterix was asking Obelix about metallurgic, saying he must be doing very well. He says, what does he do with all the gold coins he gets for his selling sickles? He says, oh, he just uses them to make more sickles. I don't know why, that just amused me.
That just amuses me, yeah. Worth its weight in gold, quite literally.
Yeah.
The other one that was quite fun, when he went into the bar, Obelix left his Monera with the cloak attendant.
Yeah.
Again, so that's quite fun, the whole thing. But I've left this one up because this one amuses me. All raids lead to Rome and the Circus Maximus.
Yes. Yes. Well, they got, and even before that, there was the saying there's a, Roman raid X to I. They're after us. I love that. I don't know why.
Yeah, 10 to 1. They're after us. It's very
Yeah.
you can imagine him at a horse race.
Yes.
Kind of thing. And let's see.
So the Romans come in to break up the bar fight, and Asterix decides here that discretion's the better part of valor. Let's just, let's not bash the Romans in just yet, So they get taken to like the local centurion to explain themselves.
Yes.
And
so there's a nice little visual pun at the bottom of page 74. Have you got that? Which I actually missed until just now. So you're seeing me react live to this.
Okay. Which panel are we looking at here? Bottom.
Hold on. I've got it here. Let me find it. And technology, you've got to love it, haven't you?
Yeah.
Okay. Cool. Are we? Yeah, we're still screen sharing. Do you know what? I might just hold on. Here we go. Where are we? This one. Nice little visual pun. Which I'm sure you can appreciate. And again, I've literally just got that on my phone. But look at the uniforms compared to Obelisk.
Yeah. Yes.
It's all the same colour schemes. Now, you wonder if he just had the same sort of felt tips to hand. But it's... I don't know. I like it. I can't say what the reasoning is for it, but I like it.
I noticed that sort of the I don't know quite if there was a sort of standardised colour for like the garments the legionaries use, but generally in these books they tend to draw them in green. I've noticed.
Yeah, I don't think there was as such. I mean,
Yeah.
it was very late that the Roman army was standardised at all. To be fair.
Yeah.
As with the Greeks, you paid for what you could do. But just going back, see, I took that picture quite quickly, and as you can see, I may as well have been in the bar with them for how shaky it is. But you get the idea. By Jupiter, anyone would think we were in Pompeii because it's all gone bang. And again, a little bit of an anachronism, seeing as Pompeii didn't go up until after this.
I was going to say that was about what year was it? Pompeii went up.
I think it was. I want to say it was 67.
Yeah, it was during Nero's time. I can't quite remember, or it was around then. I think. I'd have to Google it, but off the top of my head,
it was in Nero's time. So,
and there's something I'm going to say on the next panel here, and on the next page is Asterix and the Centurion get into a shouting match, and Asterix is like, "I fear I'm about to break the Pax Romana."
This amuses me for so many reasons. I'm glad you picked up on that.
I was going to say now, just so we make sure we do our little educational bit for the stream. I mean, generally the Pax Romana or Roman peace is generally thought to be from the time of Augustus to reign of Marcus Aurelius, but this was like a sort of supposed to be like a golden age, I suppose, of Rome. It's often looked at, but I think it was Augustus that termed the phrase Pax Romana.
I don't know exactly who termed it. It's not something I'm particularly familiar with, but it's kind of 27 BC through to give or take
about 180 AD, something like that. It'd be about.
It's basically the height of the Roman Empire. It's peace, it's prosperity, there's some expansion going on, but largely it's peaceful. And so the idea of this little.
I mean, they're fighting. I mean, obviously they're fighting sort of expansionary wars still, but there's very little. Without barring one or two sort of exceptions, there's very little civil more strife, but
Yeah.
which, you know, I mean, there still is instances, but compared to what Rome throughout most of its history is like, it is quite
Yeah, so I think the Pax Romana does very much indicate the central. You can't really describe the Pax Romana from any point of view but the Roman point of view.
yeah.
And it's a very elitist point of view. But at the same time, that prosperity did, and I can't believe I'm saying these words, but it did kind of trickle down a little bit insofar as it does. You know, when a country's not at war, people tend to eat better.
Yeah.
Generally. So that was kind of what was going on there. But the idea of Asterix breaking the Pax Romana just amuses me, especially because I'm fairly certain that's the same centurion from the last one who tried to kill Caesar.
He's drawn very similar, without a doubt. He is drawn. It does seem like I sometimes think there's sort of themes they have with some of these
Characters.
That they'll just alter them ever so slightly or whatever. But so now they're being noisy. They've apparently now they've upset the prefect of the city. They're going to have to go explain themselves to him now.
Yeah. There was a nice little joke before that when Asterix and Obelix are first taken to see him. Let me see.
Would this one be the one about the centurion or the decurion?
Yeah. If I get it right, a centurion is higher up than a decurion. 10 times higher up. Well, nice little pun there.
Yeah.
And this is it's a very punny comic strip in general.
Yeah.
In both the pun and the general sense of the term. So I liked that one now again because we've done the Pax Romana and then off the trot again. And let's have a look. There was one I really wanted to share because it amused me. Where is it? Cool. Oh, great. I know it's there because I made a point of taking that picture because as I said.
I just say where we are with the story. The prefect kind of decides he's going to let Asterix and Obelix go, but they've hints that there's a little bit of a racket going on in the city with Sickles at the moment. There's a bit of an underworld thing going on here with them, and it's led to believe that maybe Metallurgix has maybe been kidnapped or bumped off. Well, we don't know as of yet. And Obelix is like crying, "Oh no, my poor little cousin." Who I don't think he's even met, but
he's never met him. No.
Yeah,
but then something we can possibly all relate to. Let me get this screen share up again. This one.
Oh yes. Now, I'll just catch up people with the story to where the story is. They've they go back to find the old landlord they spoke to the other day, who actually turns out kind of ratted them out to the sickle traffickers, and they found that there's a new landlord in front of this bar here, and the old landlord's decided he's getting on his oxen cart off and getting on the old Roman road back to Jagovia as fast as he possibly can.
Yeah. I mean, this is funny, so I can forgive the historical anachronism.
Yes.
Slaves didn't build the roads.
No.
Soldiers built the roads.
Would there have been slaves used as labour, though, on those sort of civil projects?
Possibly. I mean, a lot of the soldiers did take attendants, we'll say, with them. and some took the families as well. To be fair, you know, wife and kids
Yeah.
along the trail type thing. So I mean, it's possible, but it is that the general acceptance is you've got to be reasonably skilled to be able to build roads that, you know, are still going 2,500 years later.
Indeed.
So, not to say it's impossible, and they were probably directed if they were, but definitely it's funny, and I think also that that's a nice little we know what the French are like for their roadworks.
Yes. It's
So
that's what I said. There's definitely some very French centric jokes in these. You know, so I think, you know, you do have to bear that in mind, that this was first and foremost written for a French audience, and then it sort of, the books became, you know, started to be published in other languages.
yeah.
But
Although, to be fair, in the UK, anyone who's driven up and down the M1 definitely gets this joke.
yeah.
Which is kind of what it's the equivalent to if you look at the locations on here. It's a main road. It's a main road up and down the country.
Yeah.
And I do like the amphora neck.
Yes.
Which, for those who aren't aware, the amphoras were the giant. You've seen them, like you'll see pictures of them that easily big enough to fit a man or two in them.
Yes, so like,
and they would have held things like wine or olive oil, bottles essentially.
They would have been a general standardized sort of container that was used in that period of time. I would have thought.
Standard, mass produced,
well, not
yes.
Mass produced, yes. Mass produced is better word, I'd say.
But I would say definitely that everyone would have known what an amphora was.
Yeah.
So.
And I do like the fact that there's some Roman goes zooming by with this on his chariot and is pulled over for speeding.
Yes. That one quite amused me as well. Let me see. So, and then they eventually arrive with the Romans.
Yeah.
And you will have noticed from last week that I quite enjoy the grammar jokes in this.
Yes.
In this comic, and this one in particular, I have to admit, I put the book down and giggled for about 30 seconds straight. Because again, it's kind of the same joke as the last one with the declension. Quis quid ubi quibus auxilis cur quomodo quando. Just passing a fancy. Did it for a bit of fun. I'm so bored. And again, with the puns,
it's towards the end of the book, that one, isn't it? Yeah. Yeah.
I have skipped ahead a bit with the Romans, because a lot of it's the same kind of slapstick humor. It's all in there.
Yeah.
Romans taking a beating, that kind of thing.
I think this particular book, there's a lot more of the physical kind of humor in it. Like, you know, it is like the slapstick of the fights with, you know, the punch ups with the Romans or whatever. And there is still some good little puns, but there's a lot less of the Latin puns in this particular book that there was in the original.
I think they realised that for the audience they were aiming at, some of the jokes were they were aimed at people who already had a classical education. And when you're writing a comic book that's aimed at sort of, you know, what's the age range on this?
Yeah, it's like what?
I saw somewhere that it was like, well, it's by hatchet children, so you're not really expecting it to be targeted at those sort of over the age of about 15. I mean, it does hold up, but that's not who the target audience is. So it does make a lot of sense that they kind of realised, oh, a lot of these jokes the kids ain't getting. So, hang on. So,
Jen's pointing out in the chat, she says we can't shield people on the chat on the channel, so mainly me, she's saying. But I guess you haven't got round to giving wrenches out yet, because this is your first live stream.
Oh
isn't
yeah,
it?
I have no idea how to do that. But
I'll
Jeff's
tell you how to
link
do.
is definitely in my comment description, or it should
Yeah.
be. I put it there.
Yeah.
If anyone knows how to actually give out wrenches and I can do it
Well,
live, give me
it's
a
actually I don't know what device you got it on, but like on the phone there, if you bring up it should say add moderator. It's an option.
Cool.
Just make sure you don't hide anyone by mistake, because that's easily that can be easily done.
Yeah, I know it is. I'm just seeing here. So we've got so we'll make Dave, Ring, and Jen moderators. So go ahead and chill away anyone you like. I know there's a collection going around for one of the community at the moment.
Yes.
So if anyone's got information on that and wants to share the link, please do.
Yeah, we'll put that out as a shout out towards the end of the stream as well, just to try and keep that going as well. So
yeah, definitely. So they do a lot of traveling in this one, don't they?
Yeah, it is more of a. I mean, I think you get into several themes of this thing, but they're either they're on an adventure somewhere away from the village, or it's the latest attempt by the Romans to take over the village, or so. I think there are certain little formulas it can get into, but it is a formula that did seem to work for quite a long time.
And this one I think is standout because it's different. It has got a very different feel to the one before it.
Yes.
So I'm just, what's that one?
So if we just try and get where we were, they've gone back into the city, and they got themselves arrested a second time. Get locked up with some drunk who's you get a feeling in one of the reasons he might be in trouble is that he's walking around drunk shouting out "Long live Vercingetorix."
Yes. Which again I did a bit on Vercingetorix last time. But what's it the equivalent of? It's treason, basically.
Yeah.
No two ways about it. It is treason. So that's, and there's no excuse even when you're drunk, I think. So let's have a look here, because there's a few, again, once they arrive in, I'm gonna call it Paris because I don't know any better than you do how you would pronounce it.
I tend to pronounce it Leticia, but I don't know that I'm doing that quite right.
Yeah. So I quite like some of the storefronts. This one in particular, having been one of those people who likes to play the tourist in historical cities, this one in particular amused me.
I like this. The idea that you'd have like a tourist information and tour center in 50 BC. I don't know why that amuses me, but
it just amuses me, and it's very kitschy, and it's Latin spoken, Celtic spoken, Gothic spoken.
Yeah. And little panels, when the panel next to it is like Leticia Nights, illuminations, amusements, gaiety for free, all for free sestertii. So they are clearly having a lot of Paris kind of
and 3 sestertii is 1 denarii, 5 denarii a day. 5 denarii is approximately a soldier's
but they're on
daily wage. So this one amuses me.
Yes.
Alcoholics, antiquarian wines.
Yeah. Alcoholics. Yeah, I like that. But these are just like little things like that I'll be honest, and I've read these books plenty of times, that you suddenly you can pick up on something new like this a lot of the time with this, like, because it's quite small in that panel, and then you just pick up on, oh yeah, these little they just seem to be everywhere.
Yeah. And then quite a lot of shenanigans went on with the Romans. So this was quite fun. This is my area of interest. So obviously this is going to be.
Yes.
We had the passing joke, which was. And then we had this one. So everyone again, tilty heads.
This is towards the end of the book, but
Yeah.
this is a little Latin joke there. So
Actor S fabula, pass me a chicken, Navas.
Yeah, it's like, go on, Hissy.
Is this any moment to speak Latin and stuff yourselves?
So what would catch up with what they're doing here is that they're looking for they've heard that these criminals meet out by a dolmen, so they're going out to look for this. Now a dolmen is like if you've ever seen something like I suppose it's not quite like Stonehenge, but it is like it looks like a stone sort of table thing made out of menhirs, and I think they were used to mark sort of Neolithic tombs in but so that they're looking for that. They're looking for this, and they have a little and I don't know, this is something I found quite funny. They're going off into the forest at night, which apparently nobody likes going in the forest at night because there's bandits and packs of wolves, and Asterix and Obelix have a little bet as to
what they'll run into first.
And Asterix says wolves, and
Obelix says bandits.
And Asterix wins. And the way Obelix sulks when he loses the bet is just like,
It's classic. It really is. But what amused me, after they ran into the wolves, they then ran into a bandit who even the bandit said, "You can't expect me to go in there at night."
Yeah. But then when he ran into the bandit, Obelix is like, "Couldn't you have turned up like 5 minutes earlier and I won my bet?"
Yeah.
But just like Obelix is sulking like a big baby when he loses this bet. It's just.
Yeah, I didn't take pictures of that because that's one that goes on for about 3 pages.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
And you really have to read it all to get the full impact of how much Obelisk sulks.
Yeah.
He's such a child. And it's I do have to admit I've seen people like that, especially on National Day. So it is one of those things where it's very relatable. Again, a lot of this particular story is very relatable. But they get where they're going in the end. And there was one shot in particular. So eventually they find this person who makes the sickles.
Yeah.
And
they found the stash, don't they? They found the stash.
Yeah, they find the stash, and I did take this picture. Let me just find it. Because this is hilarious. This is one of the best jokes I've seen in a while. So especially, and I think it's quite timely, this joke, although how long ago it was. We all know how price gouging works. So, and this is a joke that goes throughout the whole story. Because at the start, as we said, Asterix was kicking off because, 3,000 for a sickle is beyond unreasonable. And then we get this beauty when they find the poor sickle maker who has been kidnapped and forced to work, but we get this beauty.
Yes. You probably won't see it too well on the screen here, but you've got all these different size sickles, and you got like for small druids, medium druids, large druids, and oversized druids.
Yeah.
And
may the sky fall on my head, he says. Thousands of golden sickles. I'd even, and then poor Obelix, who is probably thinking about Boar and didn't quite catch on what was said there. Dozens of golden sickles.
Yes.
So you know, say what you want about poor Obelix. He's
I mean, Obelix is he's not necessarily he's a sort of big-hearted but a little bit slow sort of character.
Yeah,
You know,
he is. I mean, he's a really nice character,
yeah,
but he is very much the comic relief character and
yeah.
the token.
In a lot of senses, he is a big. He is the big dumb brute in a lot of instances, but he's a big-hearted and lovable.
Yeah, he's somewhere between being the, I think the village muscle and the village idiot.
Yeah.
So that's where we go with that. And of course, the Romans are always knocking about. So they find the metal maker. They found him. He's been, you know, put to work, and someone's running a racket. And where is it? There was a great one. Which one is it?
There's a panel. There's a panel I love when they lock him in the. He thinks that this what member of the gang thinks they're going to let him go or whatever. He thinks, hey, I'm going to be out of here with all the Sickles when they're back, soon as their back's turned, and they're unfortunately Asterix and Obelix take the menhir off the top of the dolmen and put it over the trapdoor, so he's not going anywhere. And there's like a lot of, and you know, you can again the foul language is implied, and Obelix is saying, oh, he does know some nasty swear words, you know.
Yeah, I've got that one here. Hang fire. I can actually, if I'm quick enough, I can get the picture on screen relatively quickly. Just not necessarily high quality because, you know, one-handed photographing and live streaming all at the same time. But you'll see what we mean. So I'll show that one in a minute when that's gone through. And then, of course, back through the town, causing chaos in their wake.
They're chasing this one guy who they think is who up until now we thought was the leader of this gang. It turns out there's a big boss, but they're chasing after him to try and lead him to the big boss. There's
this is the one you were talking about.
Yes, that's the one.
He does know some nasty swear words.
Yes.
And I have to admit that the jokes about it is very cleverly done to appeal to adults and children, because the images are just telling enough you can imagine what's coming out of his mouth.
Yes, without actually putting the words in. It's just it's so, like I said, language is implied. Just hits
yeah. And you see the size of the thing now. That they've deliberately, I think, picked up one that Obelix couldn't lift on his own. Is the implication here as well?
Yeah.
So if Obelix can't lift it, the poor bloke underneath's got no chance.
No. Obelix, of course. Obelix is he permanently has superhuman strength. Well, hi Ilya, I just see Ilya's in the chat.
Hi, Ilya.
And Chris as well. So,
but
so Obelix, you know, because he fell into the pot of the potion when he was a baby. He's permanently has a superhuman strength. So, but anyway, they get to so they're chasing this guy back through the town, and with who unfortunately manages to bugger off with some market trader's steak whilst he's at it as well. But
yeah, again, that's sort of 2 pages of slapstick.
Yeah.
So
they once again they get they run into the same group of Roman soldiers again, and once again Asterix is like, oh god, let's just go with them again, and you know, like, you know, he's just like,
I feel like Asterix gets into a lot of problems just because he's bored.
Yeah.
And again, now poor Asterix. I mean, I know he's been irritating and mildly, a problem for the Romans.
Mm.
But to put him in a cell with a drunk, I mean, it's
Yes.
a classic drunk tank joke going on.
Yes.
Here.
The same drunk who's going around saying, "Long live Vercingetorix." I know if you look at the words in this, he's slurring his words to it. So each time it doesn't say Vercingetorix, it's like goes into Virgin Ceterix, or he can't
something.
say it right. Yeah, every time.
And there's a bit where do you know what I'm gonna do rather than trying to upload it? Back to old-fashionedness, folks. Let's see if I do this. You inebriated, overflowing amphora.
Yes.
Which I can only presume is the dated version of calling someone a wino.
Yeah.
So that just as an insult, I'm stealing that one.
Yeah.
Thick in bottom, thin in head, kind of thing going on. There's a lot of ways that works.
So Asterix gets a bit of a. The drunk gives Asterix a bit of the potion. Asterix in return lets him have a little bit of it as well. So, and then he just basically says, "Come on, Obelix, time to go." And like Obelix just immediately just like smashes the door in. It's like, okay,
yeah, he actually uses his belly, doesn't he?
He reminds me of I'm going to date myself with this reference, but it reminds me a lot of an old British professional wrestler called Big Daddy, who used to just be a big guy who used to butt people off of his bellies. It was just comical, but it kind of reminds me of that.
Let's see, and I do have this one on its way, so we can have a look at that one because that's an amusing image. And again, now the Romans are part of the chase as well. And this very much kind of feels like the end of the Blues Brothers.
Yes.
Insofar as they break out of prison and they've got half a dozen different groups of people chasing them at one point.
Yes.
But they find him. I do like the Roman character. Just something we haven't pointed out, but I like the pun. Surplus dairy produce.
I love it. That's one of my favourite puns. This.
And he's this big bloke, surplus dairy products like cheese, cheesy. So that's quite fun. And off we go, toddling through sort of the Roman city.
Now, surplus dairy produce looks like he's the prefect of the, and it turns out he was. Because I think this could be interesting because he was the prefect of the city, so he was in charge. And it turns out that he was indeed in charge of the gang. And strangely enough, as soon as he's confronted about it, he more or less just admits it. So of course they lock him up for being corrupt. Am I by myself or son? Or I lost Hissy? Yeah, so they Ring, that the puns are completely cheesy. They really are. And I see what you did there as well. But we are getting sort of towards the end of this here. So they find this out, and he finds his cousin Metallurgix. So and Obelix. We got you back.
Yeah,
we lost you for a sec.
Sorry about that, folks.
So okay, I'll try to keep going. I was like,
you did fine, I'm sure.
But I was about to ask you a question because I said about this. It's funny because he just admits it when he's caught. He's just like, yeah, I did it. So then, he said I was bored and whatever, and like, and obviously he's going to be his next trip's going to be the circus in Rome. But I was going to ask you, how common was it? Do you know how common was sort of corruption or that amongst Roman officials or not? I don't know. I've heard differing stories on this.
It would depend on the level of it and where they were based and on the individual times. I wouldn't want to make any massive overgeneralization.
Yeah.
But an empire that size, there's not a lot of oversight. And just also that one you had there, we'll put that up for a bit of an amusement there. But
the Obelix belly butt, yeah.
It all depends. It's very much like medieval England insofar as, you could have some really good local leaders. You could have ones who weren't so good.
Yeah.
So, common, no. Well, common, yes. Widespread, the further from Rome you got. It's one of those weird things. Rome was a hotbed of pure corruption.
Yeah. No, I often heard a lot of governors were quite corrupt because I think they had their terms were quite limited, and I think they tried to make as much as they could whilst they could. I did read that somewhere, but
the Roman taxation system was really weird. Just an aside, just to give you an idea of what we mean by corruption here. So the Romans move into an area. They know nothing about the lay of the land. They know nothing about the people, what is there or anything. So they go to the locals who probably ran it before and have just been taken over. The locals say to them, okay, this is how much we've been getting in taxes. And then they essentially auction off the right to claim these taxes.
Yeah.
But what that means is that the tax collectors are bidding higher and higher and higher. So if let's say someone says in this province you can get 1,000 denarii, from 3 farms. Someone will come along and say, I can get you 1,500. I can get you 1,800. I can get you 2,000, and up it goes.
Yeah.
And then, of course, so let's say the bid opens at 1,000 flat rate. The auction ends at, say, 2,500.
Yeah.
But then the tax collectors are going to go and from those same 3 farms maybe collect 4,000 and pocket the difference.
Okay.
So that's what we're looking at. It's the level of corruption is very much on a local level, but I don't think it's systematic in that it's not designed to be corrupt. It makes sense from a logistical point of view for the Romans, but it's built into the system that there's so many loopholes and ways to make money.
Yeah. That's I just thought that was an interesting little sort of side note to go down there because it was just something I was kind of interested in because I've seen various different sort of stories about this. So, but I think we should get back. So we are getting near towards the end of the book here, and so they saved Metallurgix, who's like a tiny petite Asterix-sized version of Obelix. I mean, their face is practically the same, but it's a lot like you had Obelix's head on Asterix's body, effectively.
Yeah.
And once again, they retrieve the sickles, and when Obelix gives him his gift of his menhir, says, "Oh, you can put this anywhere you like." They're in like full well, like Metallurgic's like, how the hell am I going to move that? Like,
Yeah, it's very much a what's the word I'm looking for? What is it? A white elephant is the expression. I think.
Yeah. Yes.
It's a pretty gift, but all it does is eat and make mess, and you're not going to have any real use for it. And then, but they go back to.
Mm.
There's a nice little joke on the last page. Basically Paris in the springtime.
Yes, yeah.
So
I love Leticia in the springtime. They're singing. Yes.
yeah, I love Leticia in the springtime. They're singing. So they run into a few bandits and several careless wild boar.
Mm.
And the journey, as we said, was uneventful. Well,
Yes.
it must be uneventful because it got through in 4 images as opposed to the 6 pages we got for them to get there.
Yeah.
And then they get back to the village, and as usual, you come from a village, they give the druid the sickle, and there's a party.
Yes.
And then this
And
happens.
I'm going to say now, this is the beginning of what a long-standing running joke in the final, under the Asterix books, in the final panel.
Yeah. And I'm just
And
getting it loaded up, so I've got it on the screen. So because this one is definitely worth sharing and letting everyone see this. So and I just need to turn it so you don't have to do the tilty head. And this is the last image as well.
this is the very last panel of the book.
Okay, and it is this.
It's Cacophonix the Bard. Remember, we talked a bit about him last week. He is the local village bard who views himself as this brilliant artist and wonderful singer. The fact he's bloody awful, and but he in his mind though, it's just that his people, others in the village, is just unrefined barbarians who don't appreciate this great artist. So it becomes a thing that it's almost a running joke in this. In the last panel, they're always having a feast, and Cacophonix is always either tied up or gagged somewhere, or just basically put in some, or trapped under something. In either way, he is. They do something to stop him from singing any songs at the the banquet. At the feast. It becomes like a standard running joke throughout the Asterix books. This particular one. So there we are. There's Asterix and the Golden Sickle, folks. So
yeah, that's Asterix and the Golden Sickle, and we've overrun slightly because I am so sorry, dear husband.
I was conscious of the times I was likely to.
Yeah, we are conscious of the time. Ring is now streaming over.
We are, yeah. So we're going to go over to One Ring's channel, but before we do, obviously we're probably trying to. We're going to probably do Asterix and the Goths next. We'll sort of out of time for that one. And last of all, I see Jen has put the link in the chat there. That's just for PayPal, for the fundraiser we've been doing for Angie Dell over the past few days, who unfortunately recently lost her house as it unfortunately decided to get in the way of a tornado. So
I don't think the house decided that.
Well, and or the tornado decided it was going to have. So unfortunately her and her family, last I heard, were kind of living in a camper van or something. So if anyone can, just if you can donate to it. If you can't, just maybe just share and get the word out and just help her through a very difficult time that her and her family are going through at the moment. So that's all I'll say about that. So
definitely with Angie's as well. There's a lot of, she's I don't know her very well. Again, I for some reason
I don't know her that well, but
but the community is rallied round, so I can only imagine that she's very well known and well liked.
Yeah.
And it's a horrible thing to lose your home at the best of times, never mind in the middle of a pandemic. So if you can help her, please do. what I am going to do before we cut off, I have a bunch of links for various people, for Ring, for Jay at Nevermore, for Jen, for Mama Atheist who's not in the chat, for Vagrant Sam, for Chris the Daily Atheist, and for Jeff as well, that I'm going to drop in the chat. So any of those that you're not subscribed to, go ahead.
Thank you.
And they're all in there. That should work. I think it's just
There they go. They're all in there.
So they're all in there. Enjoy. There's plenty of excellent content there. So
Okay.
do that. And now head on over and let me see if I can find it. Off we go. And now what you need to do is go over to One Ring's channel, tell him Wifey sent you, and that it's Wifey's fault you're late, and that way he won't mind. And then we can all head on over there. And I think he's talking comic books this week as well.
I'm not quite sure if he's talking comic books or he had a last minute change, but either way, it should be it'll be a good stream because
it's always fun watching Media Musings with Ring and Jen because
yeah.
So head on over, enjoy, tell him Wifey sent you, and hopefully we'll catch you next time.
Okay, don't.
Any last words, Jeff?
No, I'll just say I'm definitely enjoying doing this little series. Good to relive some of these. And I think it's also kind of good as well to touch on just here and there on some of the actual history as well. And so, so we're going to be at some point doing Asterix and the Goths, which is the next one. And quite a few jokes at the Germans' expense in that one, as you can imagine. And then obviously I'm waiting on Omnibus 2, which could be I don't know how long, obviously because of deliveries are at the moment. So, but other than that, I do have a channel, links in the description. So if you like what I do, give us a sub, sir.
Yeah, okay. I did actually create a banner and just realised I never used it, so I'll put that on as we end. And as always, folks, take care, be good, and if you can't be good, be careful.
Right. Stay safe.
Stay safe.